Hello and welcome to Model Kit Stuff, and in today's first impressions video we're going to have a look at the Mirage Hobby 7TP light tank. So this is the twin turret version, and this vehicle would have been seen service with the Polish Army and would have been involved in the opening stages of the Second World War in Europe as the Germans invaded Poland. Obviously, the Second World War really started with the Japanese invasion of China. Depends on which history book you want to read, I guess. Anyway, let's have a look at the box. We have this nice drawing of part of the tank. This is the usual Mirage style with this big arrow. Doesn't matter what kit comes from Mirage, they always do this little arrow thing, which is part of their logo. And you always have the subject matter popping out of it in some way or other. Same on their ship kits. So this would largely be classed as a tankette, I guess. It's 1/35 scale, and on the sides of the boxes we have some information. So made in Poland. Shows you a picture of the decals you're going to get, the address of the company. Then we've got basic information on one side. We've got telling you what's in the box. It's a model kit in different languages. And then we've got on this side the sort of the book spine view, and it has a little bit more of a history on there. I think designed in research offices of the State of Engineering Works in 1933. It was based on that of the Vickers twin turret tank. So there we have it. So the box lid is fairly thin but has stapled corners, and actually the box bottom is fairly thin as well. One of the things Mirage need to do is look at the boxes that they're providing, because they don't protect the kit particularly well. The box base corners are held together by the box construction. They're not glued and they're not mechanically fastened with staples. So all a little bit flimsy really. And then we have one single bag with all the parts in it. A Ziploc bag, which is stapled to the instructions, which contains the decals. Then we have another part of the instructions, and what I think is the paint sheet. Let's take a closer look. Okay, so looking at the paint chart first, and it gives you two different pictures with two different camouflage patterns. This is a 1935 pattern and this is a 1939 pattern. It doesn't carry the camouflage pattern over for the rest of the model, so you're left to work out what that would look like. So some research would need to be done, I guess. And then at the bottom it mentions so-called signal flags, which we appear to have on the in the little Ziploc bag, and we have to cut them out. But again, it doesn't tell you where they'd be placed, whether they're on the aerial or whatever, so some research is needed. And then there's a little bit of history, which I think is the same as what was on the box. And it basically says that this was the first compression ignition tank, which is something I didn't know. And there is nothing on the back. So in the Ziploc bag, we have the little card with the decals on. The decals feel very, very thin, but also appear to have quite a bit of carrier film around them. And for some reason that I'm not sure of, has German markings, not Polish. So I'm not quite sure why that is. Then we have these signal flags, and they seem to have two different scales involved on the same sheet, so 172, 135, and you cut them out and they appear to stand upright on the turret, and it tells you that these were used up until 1939, so I don't know whether they were in use at the time of the invasion of Poland in September or not. So again, some research is needed. So we're now turning to the instructions, and they're A3. They come as a fold-out sort of almost a booklet. It's really a fold-out page, and then there's a loose page for the back of the instructions. So on the front here, we've got a small image of the box art. Well, no, actually, it's not the box art. It's some alternative art of them down the track. In fact, that's a better image than what was on the box. And again, we get a little bit of history and specifications. And then when we turn over the page, we get to step 1, which is building the turret. So I don't know whether we're doing 2 versions or yeah, I'm not sure. These are machine gun based turrets. The twin turret had machine guns, not a cannon as such. But there's some parts there that we don't glue. So it's broken down into steps within the step. And then they're giving that completed assembly a number by the looks of it. Then we're building some of the running gear and an idler wheel. Then the lower hull is 3 main parts, a base and 2 side pieces. Some of the wheels that we've built up are then being put onto there, and they seem to have poly caps that they plug into. The drive sprockets are going on, and you can see it's referencing 4, and that's the post assembly number of the sub assembly. So that's quite nice that they give the sub assembly a number that then carries on through the instructions. Each step is not too busy, so it's easy to work out what's going on. I didn't see a key as such for this. There's a key at the back which tells you what all these little symbols mean. And then we're putting the top of the hull on, so no interior detail. Then we have more paint options. Again, it's one side view only. And then I'm going to have to look at this. Yeah, we've got a little colour chart there. So the letters, right. So the letters are the different colours, and then it gives you the brand down the side. So Humbrol, Vallejo, and that just says colour, so I don't know who. I think that might just be the name. So light grey. Humbrol, you've got a mix of paints. Vallejo, you can use 905. That's sort of how it works. And then we've got a couple of different explanations around the decals there. Then we go to step 6. And we're putting on things like toolboxes, the last side plates, towing tackle and lights and bits and pieces. And then in the last step, step 7, we are putting the track on and some of the tools. Right, let's have a look at the plastic. So a lot of people go on about Airfix putting all their parts in one bag, but they are by no means the only culprit, and as a result I have one broken off part, which is one of the wheel sprockets. So my first sprue doesn't appear to have a letter, we just appear to have numbers. So some of the parts have got numbers on them, and some of them have the number on the sprue. Plastic is very hard. Feels like quite an old style plastic in a way. We've got some rivet detail, but nothing else on the bottom plate. Side plates have rivet detail and some nice texturing around the drive wheel casting there. And yeah, quite a nice cast look to the road wheels as well, the road wheel sort of assemblies. So no sink, everything's quite sharp. No seams particularly either. So the next sprue out largely has the road wheels. There's lots of them. Unfortunately, that's a feature of a tank. We have the sprocket all seem to have these little legs on them. So I'm not quite sure what that is, whether that's correct or not, but it looks odd somehow. But front facing, we've got some nice detail with bolt heads and the like. Got quite a bit of flash there. But we can clearly see where's the rubber, where's the wheel, where's the fasteners. Yeah, I would say this was sort of like a late 70s Tamiya standard of moulding. What I thought were polycaps appear to be plastic. And then we've got the fenders here, which have got numbers in them, so we'll have to clean those off. And some quite big ejector pin marks, which we need to understand if they're visible. Possibly they are. Bracketry is a bit thick. We've got some handles there with, basically there's no sprue gate stage at all. So you've got a high risk of damaging the parts taking them off the sprue because of the way they've constructed the sprue design. And then the last sprue out, we have some of the large upper construction plates and bits and pieces, so they're all moulded together. We've got the join lines are all fairly good, and we've got the hinges and the bolt heads captured nicely, and there's another wheel dropping off. Quite a lot of flash on it again. So I don't know whether this was somebody else's kit before Mirage did it, or how old it is. I've not researched it. It's all fairly basic, but we've got the bolt heads and we've got the basic details that we need. And then we come to the twin turrets, and again, lots and lots of flash. But all the shape is correct. We've got some nice texture and some bolt heads. So there's a reasonable amount of cleanup needed on this. But what you've got presents itself quite well if you clean it up carefully. These are the machine guns. Because the plastic's quite hard, they should clean up okay. And then finally we have the tracks, which are the old-fashioned rubber band tracks. I'm not a fan personally, but I'm not going to buy aftermarket for this. I'll just persevere. There's also a tow cable, which is awful. I wouldn't be using that at all. I can feel there's some texture on it, but there's all sorts of flash and connection lumps and all sorts on it, and it's come off in places and ripped, so no. Same with the track. The track's come away a little bit. Yeah. Tread pattern's okay, but obviously some of the holes close up because of the nature of the material. So not fab. So there you have it. I like my unusual tanks, and anything that's got more than one turret or is a little bit out of the ordinary, I just like the look of them. And I bought this to go in a diorama that will get built at some point, and it won't be the key focus of the diorama. So I'm not too fussed that it's not up to a modern standard. What I would basically say is this is around a 5 out of 10 sort of thing. It doesn't blow your socks off. But what you do have is everything you need to build the tank. The main detail is the rivet detail. I think the way the instructions are presented, you can construct the tank fairly simply. I think the painting instructions are a bit lackluster. The decals are a bit lackluster. The level of information to help the modeler get it right is a little bit short of what's needed. Obviously, I've not built it up, so I don't know how that would go together. And I've never built a Mirage Hobby tank before, only their ships. And what I can say is their ships go together beautifully. So I'm not necessarily expecting any issues with this if you clean it up well. So yeah, there you have it. I hope that was helpful and insightful if you've been considering buying one of these. There you have it. Thanks for looking in, and I will see you soon. Take care.